Welcome back to the Cumbie Show. We tell it as we don't care how you feel. And another chapter of clean, old-fashioned hate is officially in the books. Georgia gets the win against Georgia Tech, 16-9, a defensive-type game all night long. Look, there's no sugarcoating it. Georgia played absolutely horrible on offense. This was not a good game for them that night on the offensive side of the ball. And Gunnar probably played one of his worst games of his entire career as a dog. Maybe besides, no, I wouldn't even say that. I mean, it was just not a good game for him. Very dumb mistakes, no momentum through the air whatsoever. We basically ran the ball the entire night. But 16-9, Georgia gets the win against Georgia Tech there in Atlanta in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So let's jump into it though. Kind of go over some of these numbers, but like I said, worst game for Gunnar Stockton by far. Worst game for this offense by far since probably the beginning of the season. I think this is their worst game on the offensive side. Gunnar Stockton went 11 of 21, 50% completion percentage. Here's the thing, 70 yards through the air. 70 yards through the air, averaging 3.3 per throw. One touchdown, one interception. It just was not a good night. And that interception was a bad ball. You give him some credit on the other ones. That one that he did throw to the receiver early in the year that was right to the hands, bounced in. This was just a very bad ball thrown by Gunnar Stockton. So just overall, not a good night from him. And also not a good night from the offensive line, I thought, for pass protection. I felt like it broke down. We unfortunately did have Drew Bobo, our starting center, go down, which is obviously, as everyone knows, is a crucial piece to the offensive unit, especially on that O-line, as basically the quarterback of the line is that center, that man right there. So don't know the status of his injury yet. I'm sure we will hear something from Kirby Smart about him. Hopefully he's good to go for the playoff. Don't know if he'll be good to go for the SEC championship game. Georgia does officially clinch that with Texas beating Texas A&M, but he was in a boot after he went into the locker room, came back out. He was on crutches in a boot. Didn't really hear much about him since then, so we don't know when he's going to be available to play. Don't know if it's going to be this Saturday, the playoffs, or if he's not going to be able to play at all for the rest of this year. So, but it is what it is with that. Run game was good. That kind of felt like Georgia came out wanting to throw the ball. They are not able to get any momentum. This Georgia Tech played our receivers very close. They did a hell of a job at just basically leaving absolutely no one open and getting pressure on Gunnar Stockton. And then Georgia realized that they could just run the ball, so they screw it, scrap the passing game. Let's just run the ball, make this game as short as possible, get out of here with the win. And they did exactly that. One good thing to take away from this game, well, obviously it's a win. That's always a good thing no matter what. But one good thing to take away from this game on the Georgia side is that the defense played absolutely elite. They gave up 9 points. Besides that first drive for Georgia Tech, I mean, really, absolutely elite. So really like what I'm seeing from this defense. They are playing their best ball when it matters. I've said that a few weeks in a row now. In this day and age of college football, you want to be able to play your best ball when it matters, and that's right now. So they started off shaky in the beginning of the season, very inconsistent. But here over these last, several months, essentially coming out of that bye week, after playing Ole Miss, they have been absolutely dominant, elite. So only giving up 9 points to a Georgia Tech team offense that could score. Look, I thought Georgia Tech was overrated all season long. I've been saying it since the offseason. I've said it now. I'll eat a little bit of crow here in a second, but I thought this Georgia Tech team was absolutely overrated. Did not think they were going to make it to the playoffs, and they're not. Thought they had a shot at making the ACC championship game, but they're not. So don't get me wrong. Haynes King is a phenomenal athlete. He's a good quarterback, but I just didn't think that they had what it had to really win this game. But they were still good, and Georgia played lights out on defense. I did say in my preview prediction that Georgia was going to put up 40-plus points on Georgia Tech. They were going to win by 14-plus points, so I'll eat the crow there. This Georgia Tech defense showed up. only gave up 16 points. Obviously, Georgia did not win by 14 plus points. They barely put up 14 points in the whole game. So, but at the end of the day, they get the win in a rivalry game, and it's a renewed rivalry. You got to ask yourself, as a Georgia fan, especially someone my age, I'm 30 years old. So most of my time remembering, turn of the century, 2020, or not 2020, 2000, I was 5 years old. Turn of the century, I don't remember much football before 5. Georgia has lost 3 times to Georgia Tech since then. So my whole life, I've known that Georgia Tech, although we call them a rivalry, well, they're not really that much of a rivalry. We beat them every year. They might get lucky here and there, So to see that what this rivalry has become in the last couple of seasons under Brent Key, I absolutely love that. Like, I look forward to playing Georgia Tech now. I get a little nervous playing Georgia Tech. It's not just another game where it's like, all right, here we go. We got another cupcake this week. It's not that at all. And I think if Brent Key and the way that his staff is able to do the physicality that he brings to this team each week, if he continues that, this is going to be a legitimate rivalry game moving forward. So I am super thrilled about that. I still do think that Georgia Tech is going to struggle beating Georgia and matching Georgia, just from a pure talent roster standpoint. They don't recruit the way that Georgia does. They don't have the talent that Georgia does. It is what it is. But it has become an actual rivalry once again, which I appreciate. But then again, like I said, Georgia still gets the win. They play lights out on defense. A great interception by Ellis Robinson down there. Haynes King throws it up, and Ellis Robinson goes up and over the receiver to snag the ball. Hell of a catch no matter what. It would have been a highlight reel catch if it was on offense, but the fact that it was an interception just makes it all the much better. And in this game, I kept finding myself, all right, Georgia's going to turn it on now. That last drive in the first half, Georgia's going to score here. That's going to put them up, I think at that point would have been 14-3. Sorry if you hear my son in the background. He's still crying about how bad our offense played in the weekend. I thought they were going to score in halftime and then get the ball back after halftime, score another one. At that point, you're looking at a 21-3 type game. Would have been over. But Georgia was just never able to pull away in this game. And that last drive, that last minute of clock management was absolutely atrocious by Kirby Smart. That is the worst clock management I have ever seen with Kirby Smart. How do you go? You basically you start the whole your drive, 2-minute drive, and you get down, you're cooking, getting some momentum, going down the field, looking like you're threatening to score, and you basically just 10, 20, 30 seconds go off the clock without calling. You got 3 timeouts. Don't call a single one. I'm screaming at my TV. Call a timeout. Call a timeout. What are we doing? That was by far, and that was a mess up on Kirby Smart right there. You got to call a timeout there. You got 3. Be smart. You got all the time in the world. You don't call a timeout. You waste. I think it was 28 seconds we wasted. And then there at the end, you're trying to force a touchdown. You got to settle for a field goal. Just very bad. So a couple of things to clean up on the offense side for sure. I will say, as Georgia fans, let me ask you this. Are you more concerned about the way that our offense played in this game, or are you more excited about the way that our defense has been playing? To me, I'm more excited about the way our defense has been playing because I know what this offense can do. When this offense is clicking, they can put up points. They can put up 40-plus on anyone. So, yes, it's very shaky, but I do like what I'm seeing from defense. So they get the win. They finish the regular season at 11-1. Their only loss coming to Bama, but they get a redemption in the SEC championship game in the same stadium, Mercedes-Benz Stadium there in Atlanta. So I will have a preview and prediction video coming out about that one. But let me know what you think about this game down in the comments, especially, Georgia. How are we feeling after watching our offense with this performance? Georgia Tech, how are you feeling where this rivalry stands? Obviously, you've been the doormat of Georgia for 20 years now, but it feels like this rivalry has been renewed. So either way, it's always great to beat your rival. To hell with Tech. Go Dogs.